This video is brought to you by Sportland, quality, integrity, and tradition.
We've got an older Greenheck makeup air unit here, and the blower assembly has bad bearings, but the unit in general needs a complete rebuild. So we're gonna be going through that today. We ordered a whole new blower assembly, so we need to verify that it's correct. And then this thing has evaporative cooling via cell deck media. We've got all new cell deck pads for it too. So we're gonna get this thing torn apart. We're gonna verify everything's correct. Also, always do that. Whenever you're doing jobs, always verify everything's correct before you completely disassemble things. So the first thing we're gonna do is pull the blower cover, measure, make sure the blower housing's correct. We can proceed if that's good, and then we'll check the cell deck media and all that stuff too. All right, we verified that the blower assembly, everything looks to be correct on it. I'm more than likely gonna have to replace the pulleys and everything on that, but we'll do that once we get in there. And if I remember right, the motor's okay. Now, this is a really old unit. Greenheck no longer makes this unit, from what I'm told by the distributor. So we did pursue possible replacement of the unit. But another thing we took into consideration is it's all the controls for all the exhaust fans are ran through this guy. So they have a hood switch downstairs. I bet you it's 24-volt circuit, I bet. See if it says it on here. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look in there deeper, but usually these are 24 volts. So we did take into consideration, and we did, kind of pursue a whole unit replacement, but finding out that they don't make this exact unit anymore, the new unit would, not couple directly up to it. We decided to go ahead and make a repair on it. So it's a pretty extensive repair, but that's where we're at. And it looks like someone replaced this blower assembly in 2010. I believe this unit is from 2003, I think is what it is. So first step, we're gonna take the whole top off the unit so that way we can access the blower assembly, and then we'll start pulling the whole thing apart. All right, we got the top off. We kind of got this moved out of the way. It's not perfect, but we're not gonna go and take every one of these screws out on the inside here. So we can work with this. Now we can get to the blower assembly and pull it. Another thing to note too, whenever you're working on makeup air units, this one's been down for like years, long time, okay? It's gonna be full of dust, and you gotta be very careful turning these on. So you can't just turn it on and think everything's okay, because you'll literally fill that entire kitchen with dirt and ruin all their food. Ask me how I know. We're gonna get this thing out, and we'll vacuum everything as we go. And then more than likely, what you can do is you can send someone downstairs if you have to do a startup and slowly bump start it a little bit at a time. But in all reality, we're not gonna get this thing running until like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. It's currently 8:30 in the morning, but it's gonna take us a couple hours to pull the blower assembly, get pulleys, because we don't have pulleys yet and stuff, rebuild it. So realistically, we'll come back another morning is my thought, but we'll see how the day goes. All right, we got the cell deck media assembly. So this is the evaporative media pad. So what happens is water runs across via a water pump and runs down this media pad, and then air is drawn across it, and it evaporates the water, and that cools the air. Now, it adds humidity to the building, so these are only good for certain climates. It's not the greatest for this location, but this is what they have, so this is what we're fixing. In a perfect world, they have a DX conditioned 100% outside air unit, because then they're actually putting, not 100% humidity into the building, kind of a thing, but whatever, it's all good. So we're carefully disassembling this. We're gonna clean everything out, and then we're gonna thoroughly clean the inside of this unit. We'll get vacuums. We're gonna replace the water float, the water pump. We're gonna go to town on this guy. So this guy right here has bad bearing in here, and it damaged the shaft too. So it's just easier just to change the whole blower assembly. I certainly could change a bearing, but you're gonna pull the whole thing out to get to the bearing on the other side anyways. Might as well just change the whole thing and be done with it. So we got that out, and again, we're just, tear down. I'm gonna go get pulleys right now. Water pump, all that good stuff.
If you guys haven't already, do me a favor, check out my website, HVACRvideos.com. It's a great way to help support the channel, and we have lots of available merchandise on there. The one thing that I'm most proud of is my regular hat. All right, this is the hat I'm always wearing in my videos. I spent a bunch of time kind of trying to come up with this hat and working with people that manufacture it. One of the biggest things about this hat is the black underbill, because I wear my hats to work all the time, and I was so sick of my fingers getting the underside of the hat dirty and kind of ruining the hat, right? The other thing, what you can't see right now is this hat is very breathable. I can see light through the hat. It's not a trucker hat though, so it's not the mesh like a trucker hat. It's a normal flex fit, stretchy hat, right? Another really important feature of the hat was the HVACR acronym, okay? I didn't want to put my logo on the hat per se, so I used my color scheme with my font style saying HVACR in hopes that you guys can wear these hats to work and, you know, potentially not violate uniform policy. And from what I hear, for the most part, that is the truth. Most people wear these hats at work all the time, and it really doesn't violate anything because it just says HVACR. Now we have, this is the original design available on the website. We also have a relaxed fit dad cap for the dudes that don't have the giant heads like me, that have a shorter dome. My buddy Bill, who is completely bald, loves wearing this hat because he says that the other hats are too deep for his head. This one also black underbill. This is not the breathable material though. Okay, this is a standard hat, has the metal clasp in the back. And then we also have the flat bill. Okay, now again, the flat bill is not the breathable style. This is a normal hat, but it does have the black underbill, has the flat bill, the HVACR acronym. It is a snapback, but it is a flex fit. Okay, so it does have stretch to it right here. So I thought that was pretty unique. It's a flex fit snapback. So we have these 3 hats available on the website. We also have t-shirts, sweatshirts, beanies, all kinds of good stuff. And that's HVACRvideos.com.
This unit is a hot mess as far as electrical goes. Like, there's a lot of parts and rewiring. Like, the pump is wired to 208, but that's a 115 volt transformer that used to run a 115 volt pump. Like, there's a lot of stuff. The disconnect switch is broken and kind of falling down. Yeah, like, ugh, that sucks. We'll have to talk to them about that. That's not really part of our quote. I could simply put a 3-phase switch there, but yeah, I should probably just put a 3-phase switch there. Because it's not a breaker or anything. And it used to have the ability to turn it on and off from the outside, but all the pieces are missing for that. It has like a cover right there. Fuses are taken out. It's a mess. So, oh, and you know what? I think that this is this a dual transformer that does 120 and 24? I think it is. Wait, really? I have to look at the schematic. That's weird. But I'm just looking at their, like, because it says 24 volt secondary running through that fuse and then 120 volt secondary. But 10 amp fuse on a 24 volt secondary? That's a bit high. Something's odd. Looks like this is their new 24 volt transformer. And it is 24 volts running to everything else. But there's no circuit protection for that transformer. So that sucks. This whole thing's a dumpster fire. All right. So yeah, I did look at the schematic. It is a 24 volt, 120 volt transformer. So I disconnected the coil voltage because there was no power going to the motor starter for the makeup air unit. Okay. So that way I could turn on the disconnect switch and then confirm that we have 208 coming into the top. And then this transformer is 25 volts coming out the bottom and then 120 coming out the other. So this is a 24 volt 120 step down from 208 transformer. I don't know why everything's disconnected. Someone previous to me, I know who that is. Someone a long time ago, long story. Before, a person used to work for us like 15 years ago. Started his own company, and I saw weird stuff like this when we took over these stores about 5 years ago. This is one that we never, there's still things we're finding that we're deciphering that were a mess. But yeah, 10 amp fuse for the 24 volt secondary though. That 24 volts literally just powers from here, runs all the way downstairs through one of these conduits to a light switch, comes back up and turns on all the motor starters. There's no reason for a 10 amp fuse for that. That's insane. I don't know what all I'm going to be changing here and fixing. We'll have to see. This whole thing is just a giant dumpster fire, like I said earlier. But last but not least, I just needed to see if this blower works, or the motor works. So 1, 2, 3. My hand can stop shaking. Yep, motor's working and it runs. Bearings sound okay. Kind of maybe starting to wear out, but motor works, so that's good. I just wanted to make sure before I got too crazy with this. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut this off, that disconnect switch, which is for the exhaust fan, and I mean for the makeup air motor. And I'm gonna proceed with getting pulleys and stuff, and then I got someone else here. My guy Robert over here is cleaning the unit, you know, hosing everything off, making sure the spray rails are clean. And then we're gonna clean out the inside, replace the water float, like I said, all that good stuff. So we got the blower assembly all vacuumed out, or the blower area, electrical section. I gotta fix all the electrical stuff right now. Just about done cleaning this out. I just got back with all the parts that I needed, pulleys, pump, water float, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna get to working on this thing. Grab some penetrating oil. I'm just using Rust Buster because it's what I have in my van. If you need to get heavy duty, you can get an aerosol can of it. But I just put it on all the spots where the pulley's gonna come off. I just loosened the set screw on the back side here. There's a set screw right back there. There you go. I loosened that up, and then now I'm gonna put the pulley puller on here. I just have to assemble it. I keep it in that bag right there. Assemble it, we'll pull this guy off, and then we'll start assembling everything. We gotta get the screws in this blower housing too. These pullers make it really nice. Just lube everything up, make sure all the set screws are loose. Just wrenching on it. If I wanted to be fast about it, I'd go get my impact, but I don't need to strip anything out on this. So it's always best to use wrenches if possible, because you can strip these threads out if it's too difficult with the impact. If you're gentle with it, you can do it, but almost there. We're installing this cell deck media right now, and when you install this, you got to install it in a direction so that way the water falls back down into the unit. But we need to look, because this piece right here is where our water hose or water distribution line comes out of. So this is actually gonna sit in the unit like this. So we need all of these pieces to be directed this direction, so that way the water takes the path and it doesn't drip down the front, it drips down the back. And then they also have airflow requirements on there too. So look, it says up, so we need to follow the instructions on that. And they actually, like I said, have directional arrows right here that tells you which way. But if you notice, it goes the way that the water drains back into the unit. So we're gonna put those in. Then we got this nozzle right here, and we'll put it back on top. And then hopefully be ready to push the media pad back into the unit. These units are not really thought out too well as far as adjusting the tension on the belt and the pulleys and everything. Trying to line everything up, it's really difficult. Like, it's almost impossible if you're not taking the top off. So I have someone in there adjusting the other side. But I went ahead and grabbed a laser alignment tool, and we're able to use that to mark on each one of these where we're at. So it's lined up pretty good. Tension is pretty good. I've got this guy in there. I'm gonna apply a little bit more tension with the wrench, and then we're gonna tighten these bolts down right here. So far. Now, this alignment tool isn't my favorite because it uses the outside of the pulleys, and the thickness might be different from pulley to pulley. So ideally there'd be something in the middle too, like looking at the middle of the V, but this is pretty darn close. So I do have to admit, this laser alignment tool is pretty nice. When you're tightening these pulleys on, I suggest you pull the set screw and make sure that you can actually see that the set screw is sitting on the key. And you notice that the old one was set back too far to where it wasn't actually even sitting on the key, and the key was just holding it in. I like to get it right on that key. So I can see that the key is going through. It's in enough. I do prefer when the keys are a little bit longer, but it's all good. So I'm gonna put the set screw in and tighten it down. And then we gotta tighten this taper bushing in. Before we put the media pad back in there, we're slowly filling this guy up to find and set the water level with the water float, because it is adjustable. I got a nicer water float that, I mean, you know, is nice for what it is. We're not gonna spend a crap ton of money, but so we're gonna fill it up with water from over there too, get this sump full, and then we're gonna set up the pump, make sure it's working. I did go with a 115 volt pump, and then hopefully we can use the bleed port. And the bleed port should be coming out of this top overflow one right here, if it works properly. I just got the top put on the unit. I'm wiring the temperature controller that I'm going to install. This temperature controller is going to control the pump. So normally open and common, and then the common is just tied into a Wago that's going to main power. So 120 powers this guy, then it jumps off this black wire, goes to common, then comes out of normally open, and it'll power the water pump. All right, got the cooling media in there. I went ahead and wired in a temperature controller right here. Sensing bulb comes out here and just sits right there. We're gonna set it for about 80 degrees. Anything above 80 degrees turns on the water pump. The makeup air fan will run 24/7 for air balance reasons. That's a whole nother thing. This thing's been down for a couple of years. I'm gonna have to do a massive air balance on this building too, but we're gonna get it running. I wired the pump to 115 volts using this terminal block right here. Went ahead and put a new fuse just for the pump and the temperature controller, 10 amps. Grabbed the 120 volts from right there, jumping over, coming down, going into the temperature controller, coming out of the temperature controller on the green wire that's taped black. Then it comes out of that, goes over here. We're grounding the pump, and we got a neutral right here. So this panel's a mess. This damper's no longer being used. I really want to fix this. I want to change that disconnect switch, but that's not part of this scope of work here. Honestly, I didn't know that disconnect switch was broken, but anyways, that's a whole nother problem for another day. Their exhaust system's running, so I can't be doing a whole lot in here messing with things because I don't want to jack things up. So I still have the motor starter disconnected, coil voltage right here, so that way it doesn't turn on. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on, make sure the temp control's working, and then make sure nothing crazy happens. Will you hold this right here? So let's just hope nothing blows up. So far nothing. It's 88 degrees. Water pump just turned on. We got water trickling out. That's one thing about these units is they leak. That's just how it is. So they leak water. So we're gonna let that run for a bit. We're gonna set this guy, it's currently at 88 degrees. Go ahead and set it for 80, we'll say 75. With a 5-degree differential, that's fine. Okay. Push this thing as far that way as I can. These things just always leak. That's just how they are. So it's a bummer, but it is what it is. Okay, so we're gonna put this panel on, and then now we need to go downstairs. We're gonna see if we can bump start this, but we gotta do it slowly with someone downstairs, making sure we're not blowing dust everywhere, because we did a really good job cleaning the inside and stuff, so it might not blow that much dust. And yeah, this thing is blowing dust like crazy downstairs, so we can't start it up today. We have to come on another morning. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. We're gonna put it back together. We're gonna leave it off, and then we'll come back and start it up when it's not, when they don't got a bunch of food and they're not cooking in the kitchen. Right, I came in early this morning because we needed to bump this guy. So the customer's aware that it's gonna blow dust everywhere. Here we go. Probably killing them right now. All right, cool. We're under current. We're allowed to run 14.6, so that's good. I'm gonna bump it for a few more minutes, go downstairs, see what it did. All right, this guy is now running. I am going to talk to the customer about changing that disconnect switch, because I can still function it and actuate it all good, but I don't like that the housing's broken on it. But other than that, this makeup air or evaporative cooler is now working. We are bringing outside air through pre-filters, then going through cell deck media, that when the temperature controller sees temperatures above 75 degrees, I set it to 75 now, it turns on a water pump that flows water over the cell deck media. Then the warm outside air evaporates that water, it cools the air, and then tempers it and blows it down into the building to help. Instead of blowing 110 degree makeup air into the building, now above 75 degrees, it's gonna drop that temperature 15 degrees-ish, something in there. It's gonna help a little bit, okay? Our next step, which will be another day that's not part of this project, is we're gonna come in and do an air balance adjustment, because this unit's been down for so long that the outside air dampers for the ACs have been opened up to compensate a little bit, and we need to adjust that. So that's it on this one, and we will definitely catch you guys on the next one.
All right, this makeup air unit is there to make up for the air that the exhaust fan pulls out of the building. Okay, so you got multiple exhaust fans pulling out the unwanted, smoky, hot, greasy air. It's supposed to be filtering the grease through the grease filters, and then the air just exhausts from the building. Well, in doing that, we have to put air back into the building. If you take a paper bag, you put it around your mouth and you inhale, the bag is going to collapse. But if you cut a hole, the perfect size hole in the bag, when you inhale and you have it around your mouth, the air will pass right through. Same theory as this makeup air unit. You have exhaust fans pulling air out. We have to put air back in the building. If you don't, what happens is it becomes very difficult to open the doors because the exhaust fans are putting a negative air pressure on the building, creating a suction that makes it difficult to open the doors. Now, that is the case of what was going on in this restaurant. This makeup air unit had been down for a couple years, like almost, I think, pre-COVID. For whatever reason, it took them forever to approve it, but we finally got approval. We got the unit back up and running. Now, it certainly needs some more work. We need a disconnect switch on it. The control section, there's something funky going on in the wiring. I was kind of looking at things like the motor starter didn't trip for one of them, and like it's weird. So we definitely have some more work to do, but this will help to cool off the cooks just a little bit in the kitchen. Now, one thing that kind of drives me nuts is, you know, sometimes the kitchen staff will be like, the air conditioner is not working. It's not an air conditioner, okay? All we're doing is pre-cooling the makeup air as it's being blown back into the building right in front of the hood so that way it can be exhausted back out again too. But they will notice, and they have noticed, a pretty significant difference in their kitchen. Now, another thing I mentioned in the video, it's so critical. If you have a makeup air unit that has been down for a very long time, do not just start it up. Trust me, you will ruin all the food in their kitchen when it blows all that dirt back into the building. So always be cautious about that kind of stuff. I planned to come back the next day, and we did, and everything was all back up and running like it should be. All right, I really appreciate you. If you haven't already, please consider checking out my website, HVACRvideos.com. We have some merchandise available on there. Also, PayPal, Patreon, YouTube channel memberships are a couple different methods that you can help support the channel if you're interested in doing so. The easiest way to support the channel, though, is just to watch videos from beginning to end. That really is the easiest way. Also, if you're interested in purchasing any tools, go to TrueTechTools.com. If you use my offer code, big picture, one word, on checkout, you get an 8% discount on most of the items on their website. There's a few things it doesn't apply to, but for the most part, you get an 8% discount on almost everything. And then I get a small commission from that. So it's another great way to help support the channel. I really, really appreciate y'all. Leave me some feedback. If you have any questions, you can shoot me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. You can try to throw your questions in the comments. I'll try to get to them, okay? I really, really appreciate you, and we will catch you on the next one.